Hey folks, welcome to the Bass Shed Podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. Welcome all the new listeners. If this is your first time, please hit subscribe and subscribe to the Bass Shed Podcast. This is the first one. This is the first podcast of 2020. We did it. We made it to another year. Apologize for the lag in getting these out there. It's a busy couple months. I think the last one was John Pierce in early December. That was a good one. I like John. If I had a chance to see him around NAMM, there's a bass player dinner we went to. That was a lot of fun to reconnect with him and meet some new folks that I'm sure will be on the podcast at some point. Speaking of NAMM, NAMM was crazy. NAMM's always crazy. I gotta say, I secretly love it. I secretly love all the mania of the NAMM show. I got to walk around and interview some. I don't know about interview. They weren't really interviews. Just talked with some bass makers and CEOs of different companies, and check in with them to see about what was going on with their company for NAMM. A lot of those videos are up at YouTube and also at thebassshed.com. Short little clips. There's some that I remember talking to. There's some people I remember talking to that I didn't receive the footage for, or I did, and I don't know, I didn't download it from the zip file or something. I don't know. I don't want to blame anybody for not having it. For me not having the footage right now. Maybe I do have it on a hard drive somewhere. I'm going to check that out. But there was a couple ones. One specifically, I remember talking to Phil Jones from Phil Jones Bass Amps. And I'm interested in his amps personally. I mean, they're just so light and portable, and for anybody doing upright gigs, similar to what I do, where you want to just make one trip from the car and have enough power to support a band. Those amps are really cool. I'm into them, and I got the chance to talk to Phil about them, and Phil definitely knows his stuff about bass amps and amplification and just overall kind of engineering. So I'm looking forward to having Phil on the podcast soon to talk about not only his amps. I'm not endorsed by the amps. There's no personal investment other than I'm just interested. That's it. I'm just interested. Yeah, but NAMM overall was a good time. It was a good time. It was it was kind of funny. I had gone there with Dan Lakin from D Lakin Basses, which I know if you're for listeners who've checked out the podcast before, I talk about his basses, D Lakin Basses. I personally play them. If contact Dan. I can't say enough great things about Dan and D Lakin Basses. Contact him. He will build you the bass of your dreams. They're full custom basses. There's a website link at thebassshed.com that'll take you right to the D Lakin website, and shoot him an email. Dan's very interested in engaging with people to figure out what their interests are with what they want out of a bass and being able to deliver that for them. So hit him up at D Lakin Basses. But Dan and I went to the NAMM show together. And kind of sounds like a date. It was not a date. Dan and I were not on a date at the NAMM show. Maybe we were on a date at the NAMM show. I don't know. We had a fun time walking around talking to a bunch of different folks. I remember, what was it, Thursday night at NAMM. I get back to the hotel room. The hotel room is locked. I ended up having to sleep in my car that night at the NAMM show. That's a NAMM show story. Then then I woke up Friday, go back to the show. Keep walking around, talking to people, manufacturers, whatever. I'm at a booth, and I'm checking out a bass at a booth, and I pull out my phone from my back pocket to check what time it is, because I had a gig that night, back up in LA. All of a sudden, the digitizer on my phone, for those of you that have an iPhone, It's the guts that responds to the touch screen broke. That broke. So like my phone was useless. It's completely useless. So I just had to do the Irish goodbye at NAMM and just like, well, phone's busted. I'm out. I drive back up to LA. I had to find a place to get my phone fixed before my gig. That was all pretty stressful. So like that little NAMM weekend dealt with me sleeping in my car and then having to rush back to LA to get my phone fixed to go play that gig. It was a fun gig though. There was a trumpet player out of New York named Chris Norton I've been playing with. He's got a really good band, and so that's a lot of fun. Chris is hilarious. He's it's basically like Louis Armstrong meets Mick Jagger. That's that's Chris Norton. So that was that. I'm trying to reflect on NAMM. What I saw that I really liked. There's some basses I played I really liked. There's a Sadowski single cutaway that I really, really liked playing. I got to speak with one of their bass builders over there. I spoke with Roger Sadowski. I spoke with one of the bass builders there. And all that footage is on YouTube. All that, it's also at thebasshed.com. So that's kind of that's NAMM. That's NAMM in a nutshell. Today on the show is Joe Ayoub. Joe, I ran into at NAMM. I've known Joe for a while, and then I was like getting mic'd up to go walk around to do some of these, talk to the people, the manufacturers, whatever. And as I'm like getting mic'd up to go do that, I see Joe, and just kind of walking around, and that's one of the beautiful parts of NAMM. Like that happened a bunch, like just running into folks. I think I was in the convention center like less than 15 minutes before I hear someone yell my name from an escalator, and that's when I knew, like, all right, well, yep, I'm definitely at NAMM. So, but I ran into Joe there, and introduced Joe to who was I hanging out with? I was at the Ashdown booth at the time. Introduced him to Mark over at Ashdown. And Joe agreed to do the podcast with me back then. That was a few weeks ago at NAMM. And so we finally did it. We did it earlier this week. We got together and talked. Joe is the bass player on American Idol. Joe has toured with Shakira and Julio Iglesias Jr. He was on the Carson Daly Show with Joe Firstman. He's going to talk about a lot of that on the episode. And it was great to reconnect with him. Like, I don't know if Joe and I have actually had a proper hang ever. I just kind of see him around, which is, typically the case in LA. People you don't see often, but all of a sudden, you're at a jam session or whatever, you run into him, you connect. But this was a great time to just sit and hang with Joe. And this is my time. This is my time hanging out with bassist Joe Ayoub.
1, 2. It's weird doing this because I felt like, oh, did I shed for this gig? Oh, wait, I don't have to shed for this gig. Right? You go to something like, okay, but like I'm a chart. Oh, there's no chart.
Right. Sometimes I like that. And sometimes I get so much anxiety.
Yeah, of course. It's our whole life.
Like, what am I going to play? Like, and then I have to talk myself on the edge. Like, dude, you pretty much never know what you're going to play.
Right.
You just show up and everything's fine.
Right.
But from like every once in a while, I get in my head about it. Like on the way there, get all anxious, and the traffic's bad, even more anxiety. I show up to the gig and I'm just a mess.
The worst.
Yeah. Welcome to LA, folks. Dude, how you doing?
Good. Oh, are we on?
We're on. We're going.
Oh, good. Oh, there it is. We're going.
I can't remember how I met you.
I think we met at, I'm not sure which one, but I feel like when I moved to town, there's a time period where there was a lot of those like jam session-y kind of things, and that's where I met a lot of
You're
different folks.
from Michigan.
Michigan,
Yeah,
Grand Rapids.
And you came out. Did you come out with Population Game, or was it just you and Brett?
Just Brett and I.
Okay.
Yeah, Brett. Brett's really the one who pushed LA when we were in college. We were in college together, and this is Brett Farkas, by the way, for those great musician, guitar player, singer, all of the above.
Just always positive. Like I met Brett because we used to teach at the same store. He's just always.
Oh, at Grayson's?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I took over for Eric Curtis when Eric was on the road with somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he in college he came out and did the Mancini Institute, which I believe is no more.
Okay.
But at the time there was like a summer program for college students. He came out and did it, and he just really liked it. We were gonna move to Chicago.
Okay.
And that got delayed a little bit for some personal stuff in my family, and after that sort of cleared up, he was like, we need to think bigger. We need to go to LA. And there were some friends that Chris Steele is actually, do you know Chris Steele, drummer?
Yeah. Wow.
He was
that name in a long time.
When we came out to visit, we went and saw a gig that he was playing. And I remember he said, well, if you guys are going to move out, do it now. They like them young. In his very sarcastic Chris Steele sort of way. But it was like, oh, maybe he's right, But the idea with Chicago was going to be like a stepping stone. Like you move to Chicago, work, try and get some gigs, and then eventually move to LA. But that just seemed like, why would you want to do that twice, right? You build all those contacts and like build a community and learn a city just to go do it again. It just seemed like better.
Over.
Yeah, but Brett was the one who was like, let's do LA. And I was just like, all right, let's go.
Were you guys in a band and you guys were pushing some original music, or you're just tight from childhood age?
We were tight. We were in two bands together in college, and we were just really close friends and really connected musically.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of eventually was there was a band in college. It was called Doc Brown. That's the band that turned into Population Game.
Okay.
But two of the other guys, Justin and Jevin, they were still in school.
Okay.
So it was kind of like we would love for them to come out. We didn't know if they were going to come out. If they were going to come out, we would for sure do the band and try and push that. But the initial move was like to try and build our own careers as, sidemen or
whatever that turns into.
Yeah, whatever that turns into.
Yeah.
Yeah, separately.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So what year was that? What year?
That was 2004.
Okay.
2003? End of 2003? 2004? I'm really bad with the dates.
Stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got out here in 2006.
Okay.
And I remember...
Where'd you move from?
Phoenix.
And
I remember just... I had no idea where to start, with like getting plugged in. Like I'd go out and see some things. I knew some people, some singer-songwriters, and stuff like that. Whatever. So I ended up in that little world for a while, and then I started getting plugged into the jazz guy thing. Went down that rabbit hole, and then I got bored of that. Now it's...
Yeah, it's weird looking back how everything unfolded.
Yeah.
Like when I remember having pages of names and phone numbers. Because every time you say you're moving to LA, a city like LA, someone knows somebody, a friend of a friend.
Right, check out this guy when you get there. Tell him I say hello. Right.
And I just collected them, and so did Brett. Okay. And we would always, we're like brothers, so we were, we made sure we took care of each other. So if I had a contact, I would introduce them to Brett, and we would try and take whoever out to lunch just to talk to people and pick people's brains and
meet, hang, all that stuff.
Yeah. But it's funny, then one thing leads to another, and then you do one silly freebie gig on a Tuesday night where you met the drummer, and the drummer was cool, and he suggested you for something else, and
Right. Did that happen? Did you get that story? Did you get that LA story? I didn't get that LA story where like you just happen to play with the guy and then the guy, recommends you and it snowballs. I mean, I did in the sense of just the musician network, I mean, so much of the gigs I do now can probably be traced back to like, did you know Pablo Mota?
I know that name.
He was an upright guy.
Okay.
He was like in the Spazio.
Okay.
When Spazio was still around. And like I think he recommended me to Dennis Ham once and then like, everything kind of not blew up, but then I was on that radar and playing with Lorica and, doing all that shit.
Oh yeah.
All those gigs. So it worked like that, but it's not I didn't get like a huge tour out of it or anything.
But that's the thing. It's like they're all even everyone who's touring is still gigging around.
They're still in town
so
guys.
Yeah, it's just a mesh of whatever's happening, and when someone needs someone, they call you. And the funny thing, everyone always thinks that you're like the bass community. We're all fighting for work, but
no.
I probably got most of my gigs from other bass players. They're like, I can't do this because I'm doing something cooler.
Right.
Can you do this?
Yeah, same.
It's the best.
Yeah, I don't feel the cutthroat. Competitive thing.
Not at all.
Like,
Yeah, there's plenty to go
have
around.
your shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's phone has 50 other me's. So like,
Yeah,
you got to be on top of it. But I don't think it's competitive at all.
Mm-mm.
Like
I think
I don't feel that edge.
very helpful. We're always helping people out, and if you get a gig that, that you need to get covered, and you call a friend, and they're gonna want to pay you back later when they get something. It's a great sort of
I'm into it.
Community.
So you get out here around 04 ish. We'll say that.
We'll say that.
Say 04.
Someone will correct me. But,
and then you're just bouncing around meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the first gigs where you got really kind of established in LA?
The first gig, like gig, was with Liz Phair, which strangely, we were talking about Chris Pooley earlier.
Yeah.
So my first audition was for a band called The Calling. Remember The Calling?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea what their songs were, but I know the name of the band.
Okay. If I could, then I would. Yeah. They had some hits. But it was a Barry Squire.
Okay.
Now when I moved here, and I'm sure when you moved here too, that was a big thing. The Barry Squire audition, who basically is this guy Barry who has a Rolodex of musicians, and the labels or management would call him to put together auditions to fill slots in different bands for artists,
right,
to tour usually.
Yeah. And
they were happening all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure how I even got on that list. I think it was just you call, and there was he never picked up the phone,
ever.
Right?
So
you just left your information. I'm a bass player.
And you just kind of threw it out into the ether.
Yeah.
And then you might get a call about an audition.
Yes. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, I could be making all this up because it's so long ago.
It actually happened.
But if I remember,
and it was
yeah. But if I remember correctly, I believe when I called, somebody picked up one time, and I was like, "What?" Yeah. They said this will never happen. And then I told them the whole story and my age, and they go, "You know what? We got an audition coming up. You want to do it?" And I was like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
So I went to go do the audition, and man, I learned the songs, like the nuance of every bar, because I had no idea. I'm from the Midwest,
right?
Thinking like, I'm not sure how this works. Yeah, they want the record exact, like every line. I spent so much time on it, and I remember going in, and everyone's just kind of playing it how they want to play it, which is funny. But they were really kind. Barry was really nice, and I didn't get the gig.
Okay.
But he suggested me for another audition.
Okay.
He was like, "You did a good job."
Great.
Someone else, I forgot who.
So learning
maybe.
all the nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, or I don't even know if they paid attention. They were just like, "Okay, you want to do a different audition?"
Hurts.
Yeah, it never hurts. And then I got the Liz Phair audition. Well, lo and behold, Chris, who is also from Michigan, I had met him when I first moved out because of mutual friends and through Brett. And he also had mentioned to the MD, Dino Menigan, that he met a new bass player from Michigan. So I actually got referred from 2 different places, which was...
You're kind of in at that point.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was definitely helpful.
Yeah.
And then I did the audition. I don't think I did as well on that audition as I did on the calling audition. Okay. But, you never know what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And Liz was there, and she was super sweet. Oh, cool. And she probably liked that I was like super green.
Right.
Fresh off the boat, from the Midwest.
Right, wasn't gonna have some LA ego.
Yeah, maybe, and then within a few months, we were on the road.
Nice.
The first run we did Letterman. It was like all kind of happened really quickly, and and it was a set of twins. The MD was Dino Menigan, and his brother Marco played drums.
Okay.
Chris was playing keys, and Liz, and it was just, man, what a great group of people to be your first sort of experience touring. We were on a bus right away.
Now how old are you at this point?
24.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 23, 24.
Okay.
And when I first moved out, I actually got a telemarketing job because I was like, I saved some money and I was fine. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of super OCD and responsible like that. I made sure I saved a bunch of money before we moved out, and I was padded before I could start getting some work. And initially, I applied for West LA Music, work at a music store, right? The Easy.
Yeah.
But in that interview, he was just the manager was just kind of like not open to giving people time off. He was kind of laughing at me. He's like, "Oh, another musician moved to town, and
right.
Yeah, I'm sure if you get a gig, you're gonna want some time off." It just, the vibe was like, okay, this is not why I moved out here.
Right.
I'm not doing that. So
that's cool.
I think I worked one day and quit.
Okay. Yeah.
This is like, I can't, like.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's good, like, even at that age, to be like, stay focused on your, like, all right, I came out here, to LA for this.
Yeah.
Not just to be in LA and, sell Ernie ball strings.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Ernie ball strings. But yeah, like you had to focus on what the long play was.
Yeah, it just felt like this isn't and it didn't feel loose enough where I could kind of come and go. So, when you just feel those things in your gut, you're like, I got to get out. I can't do this.
Yeah, this isn't it.
So then I got a really shitty telemarketing job.
No one ever says I got a killing telemarketing job. Like, dude, you wouldn't believe this telemarketing gig I got right now.
That is very true.
Padded seats.
That is
a nice
very
earpiece.
true. You know what? I probably wouldn't have minded it if I was selling something. I was selling extended warranties.
That's rough.
They were trash, and I realized that later. And then I couldn't sell them. No one wanted them, and I'm not pushy.
Yeah,
so I was kind of like, "Oh, you don't want it? I don't blame you. I probably wouldn't want it either."
No, like, I can't do the salesman thing. I did telemarketing way back in the day for one day. I had to sell an herbal supplement that was similar to Viagra.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like this herb called horny goat weed. And I had to sell this to stores to carry the product. And I'm not pushy, and I'm like, what is this? Like,
Did you have to, just over the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, it wasn't like a door-to-door, thing, but
wow.
Yeah, I had to call the stores. I did that for a day. And then like I was young. I was like 19 or something, or 20. And then the next day I just like woke up a little late and like I would have had to have walked just a little bit quicker to catch the bus. And I'm like, nope. Nope, that's it. I'm not putting in that much effort.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah, you didn't want the job, clearly.
No, I didn't want the job. And it's like, all right, fine, you don't want the product, don't take the product. It's fine. Do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I wonder if it probably would have been easier to sell to a retailer who's going to sell it than to sell to, because I was talking to whoever was at home during the day. Right. And this is still the era of the landline.
Yeah.
We were calling landlines. We were calling people's houses in the afternoon. So if you were home,
you're subject to this.
Yeah.
Oof.
And they're angry.
Did anybody buy at all?
So I sold one.
Okay. And you probably made 200 calls that day?
Yeah. I can't even imagine how many calls. I sold one, and this is, maybe I worked there a few weeks, but I finally sold one somewhere in the middle of that few weeks to a woman who was really excited about it. I was like, wow, she really needed extended warranty. But then
on what?
Later on your car.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. I believe later that day, a few hours later, her husband called back and said, no way. Nope. My wife wasn't in the right state of mind. There's no way.
The meds.
So the one I sold got returned.
Oh, burned.
Right, yeah.
Because I always wonder that about telemarketing. This must work enough to keep doing it.
Yeah. Right?
Who are the people buying this stuff?
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. Even now, now we're getting them on our cell phone.
Yeah.
Which is super weird.
It's
but
creepy, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who. It wasn't a scam. It was just a product they were trying to sell over the phone.
Sure. but just what a shotgun effect. Man.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I was there, I don't know, maybe not long after the audition, a few days. Then I got the call that, hey, do you want the gig?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And then we were rehearsing within maybe another week after that.
For
it was
Liz.
Great. Yeah, for Liz. Yeah, such a blast. So much
fun. How long were rehearsals? How long did you rehearse? Not per day, but...
I don't remember. Maybe a week or so, or a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. I just remember getting the set list from Dino, and they gave me CDs. This is back when straight up CDs. And I just started shedding them, and yeah, it was great. I think I spent the last of my money on gear.
Okay.
Because I'd saved up before I came out, but then now I had to buy an SVT.
Yeah.
And then I had to buy road. This is back when I had to buy a bunch of road cases.
Sure.
And I never owned a P bass.
Okay.
And
so what were you playing before this?
I had a Sadowski.
Okay.
Which I auditioned with.
Okay. You don't strike me as a Sadowski guy.
I bought it from an old friend from college, and it was a cool bass.
Yeah. They play great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went through a lot of basses throughout my life, and actually my first bass was a P bass copy.
Okay.
So it was very familiar to me, but it was a Hondo.
Oh yeah.
$100 jobby that I played most of my through high school and all that. But
it was the lowest tier PV.
PV
Fury. Just
the
Squire of PV. It's just catfish, bottom feeder, pawn shop, $125.
Yeah.
But man,
got you through, right?
Yeah.
It's bass,
I don't know any different.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
This is a bass.
Yeah. So
did you buy a P then for the tour?
I bought a P from Guitar Center in Sherman Oaks.
Okay. I was just saying.
I didn't love it, right? The whole time I was like, I don't love it. And
What tier of P bass did you get?
It was just like an American standard.
Okay.
And it was okay.
Yeah.
It was fine, but there just wasn't anything. And
Early
then
2000s was a weird time for Fender.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but I was talking to my friend, great bass player in Nashville, Tim Marks,
Okay.
who was like, "You need to get. There's a great 62 reissue that they have out now." So while we were on the road, I kept sort of keeping my eye out, and I went to this Guitar Center. Where was that Guitar Center? I don't remember that either. My podcast is full of loose memories.
That's fine. Just make it up.
Yeah.
Like, no one's
gonna know. It was in Arizona.
Right.
I think it was in Arizona, actually. And I found a 62 reissue white that I love.
Nice.
And luckily I had the receipt for the P bass I bought. It was within the 30 days.
Oh, killing.
So I just traded it in for this 62.
Yeah.
And it's still like one of my main P basses. I love that. And I've gone through a ton of P basses now, but that's a really special. I got lucky.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great P bass.
And then, so how long was the Liz run?
It went on for a couple years. The first run was maybe 5 weeks.
All right.
But then it was off and on for a couple years.
Okay.
And she was touring a lot.
Yeah.
And we made the rounds. It's kind of like House of Blues size venues, a few thousand.
Yeah. Yeah, what are those, like 22, 25?
Yeah, they're they're all over the map, but
they're cool.
And yeah, a bunch of fly dates, and it was really, really great. And then in between, it was really helpful, especially in this town, to then come back and still try and network and do local gigs. To say you just got off the road, right. It's a different conversation.
Sure.
When you're like, oh, I just got off the road. Oh,
right.
Okay, but now I know you're professional.
Right.
At
now
some level, Yeah. Because it's hard to come to town. I'm the new guy in town. I just moved from wherever, and keep me in mind. It's a struggle.
No, it is. And I remember, like, I was of the age where everybody was just graduating college, so.
When you moved out?
When I got here, I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like just kind of getting done with school and getting into the working world, but they're still clicked up because of school.
Oh, yeah.
So you got like Cal Arts guys, you got USC guys, you got, whatever. Berkeley guys that kind of find each other out here. Everybody's
tons of Berkeley guys, right? Yeah.
Everybody's just kind of like that's
North
how
Texas.
They were creating their little communities. Before that, they would get into like their working communities, genre based or style or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like not having gone to school with any of them, just be like, hey guys, what's up? Like that was kind of a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
To like infiltrate the school clique. So I understand what that feels like. But then you're back off the road. Now in this age, like social media wasn't a thing.
Nope.
So
it was the beginning. It was kind of the beginning of MySpace.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't what it is now.
No, not at all.
You can take all of Los Angeles on the road with you if you wanted to.
Oh, right, right. And
like
vlog or whatever. Yeah. No, none of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that.
So what was it like back to town and being like, yo, I'm back off the road after 5 weeks or even a longer run? Did it not a restart, but did you have to like just spend a couple weeks making the rounds? Like, hey everybody, I'm back.
Man, I got really lucky. Like those guys in the band, and through those guys and being on that gig, I met so many other people that were really, really sweet and gracious to me, and would kind of plug me in and be like, oh, go do this other gig, or I'm playing with this guy tonight. Come play with us. And it happened really organically. And after you make some friends, and you just want your friends on the gig.
Yeah, that's really what it is. That's really what it is. Yeah,
your friends who are good. You're like, I know he's good, and we're gonna have fun. Right. Like, yeah, get him.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of that, and I had to really. We were talking about school, so being from Michigan, there's a lot of Michigan folks out here.
There are.
And I think there's a culture of everyone who moved out here was helped, and then they feel like it's their duty
to kind of pay it back.
Yeah, to kind of pay it back. So it's not weird to get an email being like, "Hey, I'm moving out from blah blah blah, and I'm friends with blah blah blah, and he told me about you." And
now you're on somebody else's list.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
it is.
and
You're
it's
the
just
guy
like
on the list.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So,
it's funny. I remember when I felt that happening. Like I had been in town long enough, and I felt like that there had been this resurgence, infiltration of new people to LA, whether they're at a school or from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like I was the established guy, you know. And I remember that was a weird feeling. You know, it was probably about, I don't know, sometime in my late 20s or early 30s, closer to my early 30s. It's like, oh wow, okay, this is that thing, you know, like it rolled over on itself. Now I'm the next tier up guy. It's funny.
Well, and it's for you. You were probably like there were a couple sort of jam session-y things that you were running, right? Or that you were the house guy.
Me and Iaji started the one at the Fed.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was like your night.
MC for it, but we partnered on putting it all together, and I was the house guy for a little while.
Which that's cool. Kind of a coveted role, like, because everyone, you know, they got to go through you to get up and play, me and
Iaji used to get hired a bunch together after that. Like we were playing all the time together because like people knew us as the jam session guys, so they would just hire us.
That's awesome.
as their bass player and drummer all the time. It's fantastic. I think that's the way to do it, man. That's the only way. I think jam sessions are really relevant is to get the house gig. Because everybody just wants to play with the house band guys.
Right.
Like, you're not going to go up and play a tune. I mean, unless you're crushing. But if you're crushing, people probably already know of you. Yeah, because then that's how I've gotten the gigs from jam sessions, is just be in the house band. Either it's a jam I run or I get hired to do.
Are you doing one right now?
No.
Is Federal still happening?
I don't think so.
They're not doing it anymore? So, no. That went on for a long time.
5 or 6 years. Yeah.
So when I moved out, I remember Guys was the big one, right? Guys was Joe Firstman.
Guys was happening, but I didn't go.
Okay.
But that was the hang, right? There was still Iaji, Zane was on it, Joe Whitley. Who else was there?
Darwin, I remember, was there a bunch, and Slim, who just came out with a jazz record.
Oh, really?
Really great. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but there's a time period and there's a lot of guys, so that you would end up, you could go to one night, and maybe it's still like this. I think we're a little bit older now, so maybe we just don't. Yeah, I don't go out as much. It's different, you know. It's maybe the younger guys are. But there was a time where you would go to, you know, Hotel Cafe or one of those places, and you would see 20 people that you know, other musicians that were all hanging out there playing, or, you know.
Like, that's still the situation at Randy's night at the Fed.
Okay.
Like, if his Tuesday night, just like instrumental neo soul thing. Like, it never fails. And if I just show up on a Tuesday,
you're going to know 50 people in the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And that kind of, you know, scratches that itch. And then I'll leave. So what's after Liz?
So, after that, it was a lot of. It's funny. I always feel compelled to talk about the stuff that so a lot of the random stuff, a lot of the random recordings, or I did this gig.
You know what happened with Population Game? I heard that band once. It was your guys' like, I think the last year the band was still happening, a Christmas show at Molly Malone's.
Okay.
I think I was playing later that night at the club or something with another band. That band was crushing.
Oh, thank you very much.
Man.
Yeah.
That band was amazing.
We're all still really good friends, and we don't get to play together, all four of us, very often. But yeah, those guys are like
those
brothers
are
to me. Yeah, those are the homies, Michigan friends. So,
what did that band? Did you guys do any light touring, or did you put any information out?
I wouldn't even. It's kind of unfair to call it touring. We would do like a show in Vegas or a show, and we would go back to Michigan and try and do maybe like a show in Grand Rapids, where I'm from, a show in Kalamazoo, where we all went to college.
Okay.
And then Brett had the east side of the state, like Detroit.
Okay.
And then Justin, that's Brett and Jevin were kind of Detroit area. Justin was up in Traverse City, so we'd book a show up there.
Okay.
And yeah, and we did an EP and then 2 full records after that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was tough because we were all sort of like side manning too.
Right.
And going out on the road.
Right, just being working
guys. Yeah, we're
yeah.
just working, and I think that took a toll on trying to do a band. Being in a band is hard.
Seems like a lot.
And we really wanted it to be a band in the sense that we split everything.
Mm.
We were like, if we're going to do this right, it's not going to be arguing whose songs get on what and what does. Let's just, if it comes into the band, it's the band.
It's the band material.
So if you wrote it on your own, you know, and Justin did the majority of the writing. We did a lot of writing together.
Okay.
I was gone at the very beginning, even before Jevin moved out, and Brett and Justin wrote a few. But this idea is that we want it to be great, like first and foremost. So
take all that off the table.
Yeah, take it all off the table, and whatever we bring in, the best stuff survives, and we split it.
Yeah, cool.
You know, and yeah, it's hard when you all have big opinions and different tastes.
Sure.
And but it was some of the best years musically. I love playing with those guys. We're just connected on another level.
Right.
When you have history like that.
Yeah, when you have personal history like that.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There's nothing better. And this even goes back to like you want to work with your friends. Not only are they, you know, you're going to get along with and it's going to be fun, but there's a musical understanding there that you can't even really describe. It's just like because you know this person so well off the bandstand, and then even you have this thing in common, it's effortless. You know,
yeah. There's just different sorts of instincts, and we would grow up. Brett has one of my favorite quotes of all time. This is.
Yeah.
I don't mean to steal his thunder, but I'm giving him his credit.
Yeah,
so he was just like, man, never trust a musician who didn't grow up playing covers. I just thought that was so great. He was at the time he was like playing with someone who just didn't know any tunes or. And it's kind of true. We all grew up gigging, so
Did you go to school for music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were all at Western Michigan University. Yeah. It's in Kalamazoo.
I just heard my tone on that as if like, and I felt like my tone was weird the way I asked the question.
Oh no,
I didn't know if you did because
I wasn't offended.
Okay, good. Either way, I don't know where the offense would be.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so we were all there, and they just a really incredible jazz program. So it was heavy, and this is maybe out here, USC or schools like that. Pop music was kind of incorporated in the programs, but where we were, it wasn't like that. It was like jazz or classical.
Yeah.
And then we were the band dudes on the side of that. So
like
whenever
the working guys like playing Mustang Sally.
Yeah, exactly. Or we had original bands too, and it was kind of like a novelty. Like, oh, these music school kids aren't a band. Yeah. But we grew up more on that than
being a band
jazz or classical music. So it's having all that. Being in that bubble, in that music bubble in school, and doing all those things at the same time is really like a great thing. I loved it. It was really fun. I mean, I wouldn't have graduated college if I didn't go for music, because I would have been, get me out of here.
Right, that's how I felt even when I was going for music. Like, it was just too, like, what's the, I mean, I'm trying to, I had to describe what my headspace was like back then. Like, I wanted to be an artist. Like, that was my thing, Just happens to be through the bass, but, like, I wanted to be an artist.
Right.
Like, what does any of this have to do with that?
Yeah.
Like, they're not teaching the creative process at all.
And it's just that, again, that bubble of feeling like, oh, this isn't real life yet. This is preparing me for real life, that once I get out of school, then I go see what real life is like. Mm-hmm. So there's this anxiety of, like, just get me to real life.
Yeah. But you were gigging through college?
Yeah. 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 So my brother, who is now a judge, he was a lawyer, but he's the musician in the family. And that's my, What? Yeah. I know, it doesn't make any sense, but he's the one who took to the piano really young and has an amazing voice. So we grew up gigging together.
Okay.
So that was the very, very beginning, was playing with him, older brother. Okay. Yeah, he's only a year and a half older, so we're close in age. But our mom put him in Suzuki.
Okay.
And Suzuki is all about the ear training.
Yeah.
And he just, like,
he got it together.
Yeah, he was a little kid learning songs off the record.
Oh, man.
And then taught me how to do it.
Yeah, okay.
So he was like, just listen to it. You hear that? Find it. That's all Suzuki. Suzuki's great.
Yeah.
I never did it, but I got it from him.
Okay.
So we grew up. That's really the start of, like, playing covers and being in bands with.
Yeah, just the street education, so to speak. Like, learn it from the record.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's my whole thing. Like, it's all out there. You know what I mean? Like, everything you need is on a record
there.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Just find the right record.
Yeah.
Like,
listen to it. Listen to it and learn it. Yeah. So.
So what are some of those things? What are some of the? Before I brought up Population Game.
Yeah.
I think I brought it up. You're talking about some of the random facts and random recordings you've done. What are some of those things?
Oh, man, a lot of them. A lot of them. I don't know if I have a list of recordings. I guess all music does, but yeah, just like come playing this song on a record, or a lot of.
I thought there was something maybe specifically you were.
Oh no! Just that sort of freelancing and playing. Come do this tune, or come do this whole record, or come do this. A lot of artists that maybe not even aren't artists anymore,
right?
But it's just that sort of workflow of.
So now,
gigging,
what are
recording.
You doing? Actually, let's do a quick overview on your, like, touring resume. So I think I want to say, who was it? I think I met you around when you were touring with Mark Anthony. Was it Mark Anthony?
Oh, Enrique Iglesias.
Right, the other Mark Anthony. Right.
Yes.
So him, and then it was Shakira.
Yeah.
Right, for a minute. And I think that was the last one I knew you were doing with Shakira.
Okay.
That was like what? I was still living in NoHo. That must have been like.
When I started doing Shakira, it was like 2010, 11.
Yeah, that sounds
somewhere
about
in
right.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I recently did last year with her to the El Dorado.
Oh.
World Tour.
I didn't even know she was doing a thing. I thought she came out of nowhere for the Super Bowl.
Oh, no. What was it? I say last year. It's 2 years ago now. It's 2018.
Okay.
We did a pretty long run, which is awesome.
Nice.
Really great. Yeah.
Cool.
Really fun.
So what are you doing, like, being on the road? What are you doing creatively to not just become like this paint by numbers road guy?
I love. I mean, you end up doing a million different things. Like I said, you're recording, or I was doing a lot of writing sessions. I still write a lot with Justin. Okay. Justin and I partnered. He was the singer of Population Game.
Yeah. Was he on the Meatloaf tour for a while?
Yeah. He did that for a long time.
I remember because when me and Yaji were leading the Fed, I wanted him to front. I wanted him to be the front guy, like the guest singer for a week.
Oh, and he was gone?
It was just difficult to schedule with him, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just because he was in and out.
He's a busy guy. But man, he's talented.
Man, that dude was so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, so, yeah, I do write my own stuff for fun. I don't really have any aspiration to put it out or do anything like that. It's almost like just to stay creative. I really love collaboration. Like that's the bug of the whole thing that you get when you're young was being in a room with other people and working things out.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That's why I loved being in a band so much.
It's a total band guy thing.
Yeah. And I'm just like kind of built like that. I'm like love being a piece of the puzzle, you know?
It's fascinating because I'm sure you had that experience with your brother, right? Your brother only being a year and a half older than you. You just came up in this really peer-based environment.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
It's like everyone brings something to the table and you make something great. That is what does it for me.
Sure. So now when you don't have that, when you're doing industry gigs, tours, you're doing Idol now. Is there a part of you that's just like you got the itch inside where like, man, I got to get in a room. I got to, it's been too long since, me and Justin have written together. Do you get that? Is it really a really strong pull that you need to scratch that itch and kind of get that?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a, because you get it in different ways. So like doing American Idol with the band there, it's like we're always like working things out and trying to make the arrangement better. It's still that sort of like communal process.
They don't come to you with just the chart.
No, they do. It is, but you're always trying to like, how do we
elevate this?
Yeah, you're always trying to make it better.
Yeah.
It's like never, and it's not sort of like you're unsatisfied or it's not good enough. It's just you're always trying to make it that much more special.
Sure.
And I do that while crafting parts.
Yeah.
And it's actually interesting to do on a tour because especially now the tours are generally like the set list is worked out. It's going to be the same every night a lot of times for it's a show for pop artists, but you have to sort of keep this element of excitement and freshness to it.
Sure.
And it's a different sort of challenge to kind of to keep that.
Right.
But I love that too.
This is the first time Boise, Idaho has seen the show.
Right.
Even though you're like...
So it has to feel like the first time you played it, too.
Even though you're so many dates in.
And it's funny because I always hear musicians talk about how, I don't want to play on that or I don't want to be a part of that because it's not that great or it's not what I'm into. A lot of times, if I get asked to record, like I record a bunch from home, too. Okay. It's so easy now where, people want to just send you a track and then you give them some takes and send it back. And I love doing that. And even if the music, maybe it needs some doctoring or I don't know. I feel in some cases I feel almost more useful because I feel like, okay, this is maybe a little bit of a mess. How do we make this better?
Yeah.
Versus when people send a great track and you play on it and
there's not your space is
it's do this. It sounds killer. Yeah. But when you have to do a little more doctoring or really try and craft something that is making something flat, that something that is already flat, you want to make it pop a little more. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I live for that. And I feel useful. I feel like,
sure,
I can really do something here and make it.
How many seasons have you been doing Idol?
We're in the middle of our third season. So it went off the air.
Right.
It was on ABC. It went off the air. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It was on Fox.
Okay.
And then they retired it.
Yeah.
And then when they brought it back, that's this new band. And now, so the overall seasons, I'm not sure, a lot. from the beginning, but this is third season from when it switched Netflix.
Okay. And you've been on it for 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. From the beginning of when it switched season.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. I love it.
What does it feel like? Does it feel like being on a TV gig like that? Because it's likened to like a late show TV band.
Mm-hmm.
Is it what you thought it would be when you were growing up watching late night television and you would see musicians on there?
Oh, interesting question. I don't know.
Like, is there? Yeah, there's another friend of mine who's a classical guy up in Colorado. Put it the best. He's like, man, every time that there's an exchange of money for playing, it's a job. And so, like, with a job comes, it's a job, you know. It's not the same excitement as you think it would be when you didn't know it as a job.
Oh.
So the fact that it's a job, but it's still an amazing job.
Yeah.
You know, like Hagar jokes about it when she's got to go play on, what's the name of her show?
James.
Yeah. Not Colbert. James.
Corbin.
Corbin.
I always get it mixed up as Corbin or Corden. Corbin
Gordon with an N.
One or the other.
Yeah, like, I'll be over there. She's like, I got to go to work, you know, and then make a face like, I can't believe I'm calling this work.
Yeah.
You know, it's still pretty killing.
Uh-huh.
And to work with Reggie Watts would be the best. The absolute best.
Yeah, and Tim Young is so great, too. I love it. Well, man, now at this point, I've been doing it so long where I'm generally hired for a purpose, and I need to bring that in.
Okay.
Where sometimes my role is more defined.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's definitely very defined.
Okay.
Like we got all these arrangements, and you have to have them. You have to have them nailed. You have to, figure out your moves on every song.
Your dance moves?
No. Not. I mean moves as far as like dynamically, especially earlier in the season. There's the songs are shorter. They might be 1 minute.
Sure.
So you're trying to fit maybe 5 minutes of dynamics into 1 minute.
Sure.
So you have to kind of start off slow and then get it to build and then
out.
Yeah, it's a different sort of thing. So you have to just those little bass playery things like, well, let me play this beginning up the octave and then drop it low here so it can really explode. So RMD really lets us sort of he trusts us,
Manage your own territory.
Yeah. It's like, you know what to do there.
Perfect.
You know what to do.
Sure.
So do that. So, at the end, to get back to your original question, I love it. It still doesn't feel like a job, or I don't feel. Yeah, I know some people in musical situations can feel shackled, or they're not allowed to express themselves a certain way. But I've always, like I said, this is kind of what I've always done, is to be in that supportive role.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's not something inside of me that like wants to, Jocko out on everything or
be in the center and get
I've loved and have always loved being that piece of the puzzle that just completes things and really lifts everything up subliminally. A lot of times you won't hear it. You won't hear, the bass moved that to the next level.
Right.
But maybe the other musicians feel
that's
it.
enough, yeah.
And that's what I love. Yeah.
Sure.
It's kind of what I live for and love doing.
Right. I mean that's the heart and soul of a bass player right there. I mean, all the Jocko stuff is cool.
Yeah, and now especially like you said, we didn't really grow up in Instagram culture, but now man, some of these, I love watching all these players like
it's crazy.
Shred. It's crazy what
so
they
crazy.
can do. Yeah.
I immediately get defensive. Like, oh, that's Nick. No one's going to hire you for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I can't do it. Like some beautiful chord melody thing, or like, it sounds great. I love all the aspects that the bass is taking on.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic for the instrument. But my knee-jerk reaction is to always be defensive because I can't do it.
Right.
It's just innate insecurity that gets triggered. It's a whole thing.
But it's funny, what people really appreciate is, playing their song and moving it from. But to really study those guys, like the guys we grew up on, guys in bands, or like the kind of session players like Nate East, or any of the Lee Sklar, or anyone who's playing on all these records and knows how to like move a song.
Yeah,
those were.
It's funny because you look at so many of those session players, Joe Osborne, Lee Sklar, Jamerson, Carol Kay.
Mm-hmm.
They would still all kind of do it their way. Like, they found their voice within that. Their voice wasn't the Donna Lee, with just like the Jocko thing was. It was very cool. It's very cool, and I have a blast. Like, what gets me excited about music is going back and like literally studying that shit. Like, sitting down, I did it. When I ran into you at NAMM, Dan Lakin, like, he sent me the Spotify playlist he put together on Joe Osborne, and I was just listening to Joe Osborne like all day. Like, man, like it's so killing. It's so killing because it's so out of the way, but it's so everything it needs to be all at the same time. And like every once in a while, he'll throw in a little thing like, "Oh, okay, Joe, I got you."
I didn't know it was him. Probably if you could pinpoint a song that was the beginning of me hearing the bass and knowing.
Oh man, I wish I would have asked that question.
No, it is Joe Osborne.
Really?
Yes. Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In.
Yeah.
The Fifth Dimension version, and it was mind blowing for me.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning of like picking out what the bass is doing.
Okay.
And he was all over the place on that thing. It's so funky. If you had to say what was the most influential song, it would be that.
Wow.
From the beginning. Okay, because my mom had the record. She had it on record.
Okay.
And it was so good. She had that, and she had a Jackson 5 Diana Ross record that also was really influential for me.
What was the kind of the total music being played at the house growing up?
It really more than my parents playing music is really what my brother was into.
Okay.
Because he was always just ahead of the curve. He was older than me, and he was way into music. So,
what's your brother's name?
Nick.
So what's up with Nick? Does Nick just like pick stuff up super fast?
Fast, and was just
could like crush being a musician, but now is a lawyer or a judge?
Yeah,
Which
that's
one?
exactly
is
right.
He like a surgeon on the side?
He should be.
Man,
he's just brilliant. And he loved. The funny thing for him, he could have easily made a music career for himself. Sure. Like, brilliant musician, but I think there's a point to keep that sacred and special and not make it a career.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess he told a friend who later told me that he said, if I become a lawyer and I have a hard day, when I come home, music can be my release. Right. But if I'm a musician and I have a hard day,
you're not going to study
what will my release be?
Yeah.
I was like, that's an interesting way to think about it. But the funny thing is, he still gigs all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
What's his instrument?
He's piano player, singer.
Okay.
Yeah. And
is he still back in Michigan?
Yep.
Okay.
He's in Michigan. Yeah.
Nice.
He's a judge there now. But whenever
what's the scene like back in Michigan right now? Like, when was the last time you went back?
I go back every year, usually around the holidays, sometimes more, and, see my brother, and a lot of old friends are still there, and my niece and sister-in-law and family friends. But yeah, I have friends that work there a lot. I have one drummer friend, a good friend of mine, Fred Knapp, plays like 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
And so it seems as though like the city really blew up in the past 5-10 years.
Grand Rapids?
Yeah, Grand Rapids. And beer really helped out the city. Like there's all these huge breweries, so people come to town. And I think it really helped the arts community. There's Art Prize there.
Oh, wow.
Where people were coming all over and putting art all around the city, and
they would kind of little Renaissance maybe.
Yeah. It's a great city. So I didn't necessarily. I loved it there, and I didn't want. It wasn't like get me out of this small town. It was just more like I knew that this isn't the place to be for what I wanted to do. Like there was no tours going out of. You weren't playing on big records in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It wasn't happening. So we knew we needed to maybe get out. But it's a special city. It's a great city.
Now, you being on Idol, you have most people's dream gig. What's your dream gig? Not to say that you don't like Idol and aren't appreciative and all that, but if you could be like this tour or this situation, more of a session guy thing, just cutting sessions from the house and like, you got a P bass and boxers and just work all day and then be done.
Man, this would have been Idol would have been a dream gig for me. Because I love how fast it moves. I love how you can't really look away the whole time, and you have
to. What are those shoot dates when you do like a pre-tape?
It's usually a bunch of rehearsals.
Do you guys go live?
No, then we go live. Yeah, we go live like second half of the season. Okay. Pretty much. And those
you got to narrow it down to like.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are live. They're live to the East Coast and the West Coast. Okay. So it's literally live.
As it's happening.
Yeah. It's being aired as it's happening.
How do you feel? Like, do you get in your head about that?
Sometimes, the more you, like anything else, the more you do it, the less. Early on, you go down the rabbit hole of like, man, I wish I would have played that differently. Man. Oh, that one bar, I should have played that note down the octave, but I didn't. Right. All the little teeny stuff we all trip about. But it's really about just capturing the moment, and you can't really trip on any of that stuff.
Right.
You got to just roll through and because you really have a duty to the kids, right? The contestants. Sure. So you have to play it well for them. It's their moment.
Sure.
So again, it goes back to that being sort of in that supportive role. You love it, right?
Right.
And you have to treat everyone the same. Everyone gets 100% of you in that moment.
How much interaction do you have with the contestants throughout the week? Like,
not much. They actually, I think, purposely try and limit it.
Work tapes of what the arrangement is so that they can, like, do you guys track the arrangement real quick and then give it to the contestants so they can shed?
So there's vocal coaches and accompanists who also make the charts.
Is Nayana doing that?
Nayana does the voice.
The voice, right?
Yep.
She's bad.
Yeah. Nana's awesome. Nana, we went to school together.
I knew she was Michigan.
Yeah.
Right.
She's from here, but yeah, we went. We were at Western at the same time.
Yeah. No, there's a whole squad of you guys. Jesse Palter, Michigan.
Oh, she is Michigan too, right? Like Lansing or something.
I don't know what part. I don't even know really how far any of those cities are. Like my Michigan geography isn't strong.
I'll teach you. Don't even worry about it. I got you.
Like right after we're done here, let's pull out the glove.
Yeah. Just my hand. I'll just go through all the areas. So usually they come up with an arrangement and then write a chart.
Okay.
So then the band will rehearse it a bunch, and then we'll rehearse with the contestant, and then tweak some things.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's just like getting a couple rehearsals in and then doing it.
Yeah.
It moves really quickly.
Cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like anytime I've been on set for anything, like the downtime is just it's a drag.
I like it when it's moving.
It's great. To keep it up, keep the bass in your hands. You get to play more.
Yeah, especially early on when there's more contestants before they start getting eliminated. You got to get through 40 kids, and everyone needs a chance to be able to
get their time,
tweak the arrangement and get their time. Yeah.
So back to the question. So Idol would have been your dream gig, but now that that's been realized,
I used to play a lot of musicians in town did, because he was kind of rotating the band. But when Joe Firstman was doing Carson Daly,
weren't you in that band?
Yeah. So he would do it was a late night show.
Yeah, Last Call, right?
Yep.
Right.
And I did that a bunch with him towards the end. Everybody, he would
pretty rotating, right?
Yeah.
I remember
Joe kept it sort of way. It was
Whitley do it one time.
Yeah.
I think Zane Musa was playing sax for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone went through there and did that. But I would love like a late night show kind of gig, or a daytime TV show gig. Those are so great because you kind of have normal hours. Mm-hmm. You get to be creative every day, and you could still.
What are the hours on an Idol taping? Like, are those?
They're kind of all over the map, so they come in chunks.
Okay.
Like, it might be a week here, and then we won't do anything for a month, and then we have to tape the next couple episodes here. Once it gets going, then it's weekly.
Okay.
Once the live shows start, then it's weekly.
But you're putting together a bunch of segments, or you just. Okay. How's the production? I'm not trying to get you to talk shit on Idol. I'm just curious about. Is it pretty cool? Like, is their production, although maybe fragmented because of what they need to get done, is it easy to work with? Like,
oh yeah,
is it?
Yeah,
because some of them are just like you get an email and then there's like 30 emails last second with all these last minute changes, and
I think there's so many. There's so many working parts.
It's a very big machine.
Yeah, they can't. No, I mean, we got our calendar now for the rest of the season, and it's pretty clear.
Okay.
And Chris is just great about keeping us in the loop with everything. Cool. So, yeah, as you know, the hardest thing about being a musician is scheduling.
I was going to say working with musicians.
No. The second hardest thing, no. Scheduling is always, because we always want to be busy.
Sure.
But sometimes things overlap, and that, one day could kill 2 weeks worth of work.
Right.
Because they just don't line up.
Right.
But yeah, it's relatively, it's workable, and you kind of know your windows to take other things. Now, so for the first 2 years, the first year since I started, I did that tour with Shakira. Mm-hmm. Last year I went back and did more dates, finished out the year with Enrique Iglesias.
He's still out there doing dates, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's nonstop. He's always working. But
Does he got new material out?
He's always putting out songs.
Really?
Yeah. It's so different now, where it's not like necessarily a push around a whole record.
Yeah.
It might be just like I dropped a single.
Yeah, okay.
And that,
And that's just enough to keep a tour happening.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is filling out the rest of the year, mm-hmm. and making sure, again, the scheduling, it's like you obviously can't do the whole year because the first part of the year you're doing the show, but if you can kind of work around it, and everyone's trying to work around.
So when you stop? When does the show stop?
May 17th.
Okay.
We're done.
Okay, so you got when did it start? Did it start in January?
It started in our first sort of taping was in December.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That seems short. For some reason, I remember the show running longer than just 5 months, because it just aired to the public this last Sunday.
Right.
I don't even know what date today is. Probably 17 or 18.
I don't know. Yeah.
So it would have been like the Sunday after Valentine's Day.
Right.
Right. Is when it started. So it'll end in. So I guess it's only 2 to 5. That's only 3 months.
But they also do. Remember, they go around the country and have all those auditions too. So it even goes longer than. I'm just speaking from when the band sort of starts.
Sure.
Which is already into the season.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's true. I didn't think about that. They have to do all those episodes where it's just the auditioning for the judges.
Exactly.
Who are the judges now?
It's Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and it's been the same for the past.
That's 3 years since it moved.
Yep.
Interesting. I have no idea. I think the last year I watched it was like Ruben.
Oh,
like
that's a while ago.
Yeah, it's like
I remember
season
Ruben.
2 ever.
Did Ruben win?
I think Ruben won because he was after Clarkson, wasn't he?
Oh, that was that second season.
I think it was the second.
It's interesting because not you automatically think that the stars are the ones who won, but some of the bigger stars are the ones who didn't win, right?
Yeah, like I don't think Carrie Underwood actually won.
She didn't win?
I don't know. I thought she was just like a runner-up. Because then there's this vibe where like if you got to like the top 3, you automatically got a country deal. You
right.
know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that happening for a little bit, but I don't really follow it. I don't know what's going on. But
it's cool. Such a different TV is so different now because now so much of what people watch is on streaming services or it's just like a different world, right?
It's crazy what
all changing so fast.
Right, how it all changed. Like I hear, have you seen these it's a Netflix documentary and they're all done by the decade, like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. They're brilliant. They're like each decade is 10 episodes long.
Is it the one on CNN?
Yeah, it's CNN,
yeah.
Netflix. Tom Hanks produced.
Yeah, it's great.
Amazing. So you watched the one, I think it's the 80s, obviously, about MTV changing the culture of television. And now it's weird. It's like TV has become even more the new radio, and like just how things kind of cycle and replace each other is fascinating. And I think culture's still trying to figure it out. Like like what actually is, where do we find things anymore, and what is, so many commercials have great music in it, or Grand Theft Auto will be like places to hear music.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like video games. It's nuts. Dude, thanks for doing this.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Parting words?
I have no parting words.
No parting words?
Except for thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I ran
Good
into
man.
your name.
Yeah,
Like, right after I saw you, I ran into Brett.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him there that day too.
It was a good. Did you have fun with him?
You know what? I know there's a lot of NAMM haters.
Yeah.
And it can get very intense at times. It's a it's like at the convention center. It's a big expo. It's intense, but I like walking around and looking at some gear and seeing my heroes noodle at a booth somewhere. Like I'm into it. I always have fun. It gets overwhelming after a little bit. It's
very overwhelming.
But I'm not a hater.
Yeah, it is fun. I think going into it with like, all right, there's just a whole level of this that is absolutely a shit show. Cool. But it's cool. And like, I got sucked in. I was down there Thursday and a little bit Friday. Dude, the digitizer on my phone, like I was sitting down at a booth playing the bass, and I had my phone in my back pocket. I pulled my phone out to check the time, and the digitizer busted. So like, the phone doesn't work,
Oh, no.
And I had a gig that night. So I'm like, oh, man. This is a lot. I'm down in Anaheim. It's like 3 p.m. I have to be at my gig at like 9. So race all the way back up to LA, like go home, look up a place that'll fix my phone, get that taken care of.
Wait, what's the digitizer?
So the digitizer is the thing that you actually, it's like that you touch. It's
gotcha.
So it's not just the glass, but it's the guts of the.
Can't you do the? Oh, but. I know like when the button breaks. Oh, but see, look how outdated I am. No, none of them have a button anymore.
I got a button.
You got a button.
Dude, I don't like the new stuff. I don't like the new stuff.
But I think when the button breaks, you could do like there's like another way to navigate the phone.
Oh no, it's like if you pressed it. No. It was like cracked inside, so it was getting all these sensor points. Like all these apps were just blowing up all the time. And because everything's linked, like I don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, like I'm sending an email to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. So I just turned the phone off and I just Irish goodbye Nam. Out.
Well, you have to do that anyway. Just like I gotta go.
Left.
Yeah.
But I had a great experience. See anything you liked? At the big
nothing.
Short scale basses are blowing up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they had the
they had them all
the
over
Stingray
the
short scales. Yes, short scales are super popular right now. Nothing that really stood out, but I just like kind of. I don't really have an agenda. I just kind of walk around and see what I see.
What's going on.
Yeah. That's fun.
It was fun.
Blast.
Cool, man.
Well, good man.
Thanks for doing it.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so that was my talk with Joe Ayoub. Check your local listings to look for him on American Idol. I like that guy. He's just a sweet guy. He's low key, down to earth guy. Love me some Joe Ayoub. That's Joe. What else is going on? Before I sign off here? The bass, I did it, folks. I did it. There's finally, right? The whole point. I've gotten emails about this, like from people kind of all over the world that have, somehow come across me on social media or something, which, by the way, I still apologize for sucking at. People that just really kind of want to know what the deal with the bass shed is. They're up. I've finally started releasing some courses. The deal with the bass shed is, I transcribe this is it. This is the deal with the bass shed. It's learning from the legends. You want to be a great bass player? Learn from the greats, right? So all the greats have recorded a lot of material that we can learn from. I think every bass lesson anybody needs is can be found on a record somewhere. That's my thing. Every bass lesson you need can be found on a lesson. Now, that being said, there are technical issues with the instrument that kind of need to be sorted out before you can play some of these, and to varying degrees. Some have more technical challenges than others, but there needs to be a foundational layer element. There needs to be a foundation of technical ability on the instrument, electric and upright. Being able to generate a good sound, time feel, things like that. Having some knowledge of the instrument and where all the notes are, things like that. Having some knowledge on harmonic theory and what your notes within a chord are and how the notes relate to a chord and things like that. There's all that information. So I don't know if you're going to find those lessons on a record, but the art of playing the bass you will find only on records. So that's the deal with the bass shed, is the art of playing the bass in a group setting with people, making decisions, learning vocabulary, stylistic vocabulary, solo vocabulary. I guess that's still kind of stylistic vocabulary. That's the deal. That's what I'm doing with the bass shed. And so the courses are up. I got Jamerson up there, Bob Babbitt, another Motown bass player. Yeah. So the course on him is up. Paul McCartney's up. I'm releasing Charlie Hayden later today. Charlie Hayden's one of my all-time favorite bass players. I love Charlie Hayden. So they're up there. Finally, it's happening. It's happening, and I'm excited about it. I love doing these really, kind of deep, really diving in deep on specific transcriptions and on different bass players to really get into their style of playing, or what they did specifically on a tune or bass line, and really getting in there and really kind of getting inside of what was going on to construct the line. And really with Paul McCartney, what I loved, and I'll keep adding to McCartney's because the Beatles, created a bunch of tunes. But what I liked about McCartney is you could kind of see his playing shift over time. shift, meaning you can see new elements become a part of his playing that weren't there in like the earlier years. You can see like some just instrumentalist growth in him, um, which I think is cool to. I think it's cool to kind of track, through records. Is It's a cool thing I like about records, right? Records and recorded music, they're all just Polaroid pictures to me. Like this is a snapshot in time of where you were at on any level. As an instrumentalist, for the instrumentalists in the band, as a songwriter for whoever the artist might be writing the song. That's how they were writing songs then. And that may or may not, change as their career progresses and things like that. So I love that about recorded music, and they're up there. So you can go to thebasshed.com, where I'll have all the bass players that you can receive courses from under the tab List of Legends. Click on one, and it'll take you to a little preview of what I cover in each course for the bass player, for that specific bass player. So that's happening. You can also text the word SHED, SHED, to 66866 to join the newsletter. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe. Please subscribe to it. And I think that's all I got. I think that's all I got for today. I gotta get this Charlie Hayden situation sorted out and posted because I just talked about it. So now I have to, right? I have to now. That's it, folks. That's what I got. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.